Lemonade, lemonade, lemonade.
In these 30-second drawings, what I'm looking for is structure, so I'm just looking for the rib cage and the pelvis. Now later on, when I get involved in figure construction and I'm using the pillow shape, or I get involved in figure abstraction and I overlap the two triangles, the upper and the lower triangle to the body, then I'm going to be thinking about this back in the back of my mind. I'm going to be looking for more of the side-to-side connection and how these masses right here that I'm drawing relate to each other in more of a bendy, squishy sort of way, like an animator would. Right now, what I'm looking for is pure construction. How far are the pelvis and the rib cage from each other in terms of turn, twist, and rotation? That's the key here in getting these drawings to work. So within 30 seconds to a minute, depending upon how sloppy you draw the boxes, and I tried to make these nice and clean so they ended up closer to a minute than 30 seconds, but regardless, it's still the same thing. You're just looking for structure. And if you get this right, you get an added bonus in that you're also learning perspective and you're learning how to freehand boxes so that all the angles are right angles to each other and they all feel like they match. So the concept of this kind of quick sketching is to work for structure. In 30 seconds to a minute, you don't have a lot of time to finish something, although you can finish something. We'll show you that towards the end. You're looking for structure in this particular type of quick sketch. So in this case, we're looking at the pelvis and the rib cage as two boxes, and then the spine is a string that you can kind of freeform bend within a certain limitation, of course, and the photograph or the model will show you that. And then there's certain proportions that you're going to want to work towards, and if you know my pillow shape and the articles from Imagine Effects and so forth, then you know those proportions in there. I'll explain those in another video. In the relationship between the two, it is the spine in the back and it is the center line in the front. Now as I get involved in these two reclining poses, these next two reclining poses, I'll explain a little bit about what's going on here. So when you do a quick sketch, there are two different camps of thinking between quick sketches. There's the camp of thinking where you just draw in the raw state of drawing, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. In fact, there isn't anything wrong with any way of doing what you want to do. But if you're going down an academic pathway, if you're going down a practical pathway, or you're going to be working in an industry of any kind that has to do with storyboarding, comic books, illustration, whatnot, then you have to have a work routine that helps get you results. So what we're doing here with these particular quick sketches is we're looking for the masses inside, the torso and the rib cage. If we can plot those masses correctly in their proportions, and we can get their rotation correct, then we also see something more, which is called the animation of the pose, and that's going to bring us poses that are more active, more lively, and more gestural to the picture. So that's what this basic exercise is about, looking for that dynamic relationship in the core portion of the torso. Alright, these next 30-second to 1-minute gestures, and you should be able to work your way towards 30 seconds, are spiraling gestures. I kind of call them the tornado technique. And what you're looking to do is you're looking to find the perspective of the body, the limbs, the axioskeletal portion, and the torso, the core. And you're looking for the correct rotation of the lines, and you're only showing that portion of it that wraps around the body objectively so that you can see the perspective from your point of view. If you get this perspective correct, then in addition to the blocks that we were working with before and this perspective, these two concepts together should help you understand and resolve the full body within a three-dimensional space. In doing this technique, once you're finished with the spiraling lines, then outline the contours around the figure so that you can solidify those spiraling lines into a mass, so you can objectively look at the full volume with a boundary around it. And here I'm putting some lines in so you can see the perspective of the drawing. Those are the lines and those are the directions that those parts of the body are moving in. This is something that can be done very quickly, and in fact, if you get your hand into a habit of moving very quickly, you can do these within 10-15 seconds. The extra lines that I put in, I do one circle for where the head goes, and then I put a rhythm line across where the boundaries should be set for the size of the pose. If the arms are spread wide, I'm going to make some gesture points out there so I know how big I'm making the pose. Otherwise, sometimes some of the details can get lost and grow on you, which at times those gestural qualities or those inconsistencies can be an interesting thing for the drawing. However, again, I'm looking to learn academically and not let go of proportions if I can help it. And here again, we're putting some outlines around it so we can see exactly where the contours are that we have built and how they work in three-dimensional space. He also has a little cloth over his body, and that's what I drew in last there. So the rings that we're drawing here are complete ellipses, but I'm only putting a portion of the ellipse in. I'm letting the hand move all the way around through the entire gesture of the ellipse, but I'm only marking down on the page where the portion of the ellipse should be that faces forward towards us. If I draw the whole thing, then chances are likely I could get a really messy drawing and I won't really be able to read the picture for the perspective that I'm looking for. And again, once all of the rings have been established, then it's a good idea to go back around the whole figure, put an outline around it so that you can see the proportions as well as the limited space that you have just created for yourself with full perspective involved around it. Alright, these last two drawings are just pure contour. And what you do with these drawings, well, if you have those proportions in mind of the body and you understand it, then what you kind of do is you go back and forth between the two sides and not just draw down one side and then come back around and do the other side. While that will produce for you some really interesting qualities in asymmetrics and so forth, and if you're a really good hand, you might be able to get things more symmetrical. It does lead to problems with one side of the figure to the other side. And with these gestures, you really have to think side to side as you draw them through. And that's sort of what's happening here. I'm working from one side and then going to the other side, as you can see here. The same thing with the legs, one side and then the other. And here I have left the muscles out so that I can get the gesture of the leg in first, and then I'll put the muscles in afterwards, or a few of the muscles where they need to go, if the gesture does not allot for the correct linear notation of the body. But these are correctly drawn, or at least designed in a way that resembles the pose within a 30 to 1 minute duration of time.